All right. Hello, my name is Dr. Jenna Ross, and this is another episode of Get Your Head in the Game, where we talk about all things mindset, mental health, and sports and how it pertains to life. And we have a guest here, a special guest, Markeith Madison, who is a former collegiate athlete that played basketball and played all throughout his entire life up until college, and then some interesting events happened for him. And basically, he decided to pursue a professional career in the field of sport and performance psychology, which is how I met him and how we came into contact with each other. So super excited that you're here and we get to talk about your story and what it was like for you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, you grew up in Alabama, right? Alabama was your home state?
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about how that was growing up, how you got into basketball and how you started in the sport.
Yeah. Grew up in Alabama, uh, small town, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I actually the I guess the furthest back memory I have of like basketball was like I think I was around like 5 years old, and my stepdad came into the house and turned on the TV. We had the floor TV at the time, like the big floor
Okay.
TV,
Like
and
back in the
he turned on.
day.
Absolutely, yeah. He turned on the TV and it was a Chicago Bulls game playing, and
Okay.
Michael Jordan was playing, of course. And I remember just like seeing him play, and like he was just
Hmm.
like so much better than everybody else like on the court.
Yeah.
And I remember just like being like 5 or 6 years old, like sitting on that floor and watching him and just deciding in that moment, like, oh, that's what I want to do with my life.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so from like that moment, like anytime you would see me, I would like have a basketball in my hand.
Hmm.
Like that was like the
Wow.
moment for me that like triggered everything. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
essentially like where it started as far as like the mindset of just like identifying as an athlete like in that moment. Um,
Hmm.
from there, I guess like the first time I actually competed in basketball was like seventh grade. I made the seventh grade middle school basketball team, and we had a really good team. We ended
Okay.
up like going undefeated and won the city county championship. And uh,
Yeah.
me and the guys on that team, we kind of made a pact saying that we were going to win a state championship one day. So fast forward to our senior year of high school, we accomplished that and won a 6A state championship in Alabama.
Oh, wow.
Um,
And you guys were the same group the entire time.
yeah, for the majority of
Okay.
the core of that team, yeah, we were
Okay.
the same
Wow.
guys, yeah. Yeah, so
Wow.
Bill, we got that done. That was awesome to do. Just an awesome experience.
Hmm.
Um, and just would you like me to go down the complete basketball timeline or
Yeah. So
yeah,
so you played throughout high school, right? And then that
right.
led to, your opportunities to play past high school. When you were in high school, what was some of the challenges that you faced as a high school athlete? And do you remember like having any specific challenges as far as like your team or how you were, maybe for you individually? Just talk to me a little bit about how that was as a high school athlete.
Yeah, just I guess thinking back on high school, just challenges, they more so stemmed around just like competing,
Mm.
trying to get a position on the team and trying to hold
Hmm.
that position. I remember just kind of bouncing in and out of starting lineups from like ninth grade all the way up to my senior year.
Hmm.
We had some great competitors on the team, so
Hmm.
that was a challenge, of course. But it was a brotherhood built amongst
Mm.
us, so it was uh, it was very positive based. So it was
Hmm.
it was positive competition. We were all rooting for each other, but of course it's competition, so we all want that starting spot. So that was
Yeah.
definitely a challenge. Coming home to me and my stepdad, we used to play all the time out in the driveway, like right in front of the house,
Hmm.
playing 1-on-1. And he was just like he was a great person for me in sports because he always
Hmm.
pushed me to like go to the next level. I remember I would just always try to beat him, and like the first time I beat him was like eighth grade, and then like
Hmm.
in a 1-on-1 game. So he would always tell me like just like build that confidence in me that I was a really good
Mm-hmm.
player. And,
Mm-hmm.
that was a challenge too, like, coming home after certain games where I didn't play as well as I wanted to play, and
Mm-hmm.
just like feeling like I kind of like let him down or let my family down. Like, that was
Mm-hmm.
a challenge too. So those are like different emotions that you go through, in that
Yeah.
high school setting.
Yeah. So do you feel like you
Yeah,
kind of set the expectations for yourself in the fact that like, hey, if I don't do this good, then it was like more like you were harder on yourself than the people around you?
absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's all mental for sure. So,
Hmm.
and I don't want to just like paint it like it was just like so dark, but
Right.
that happens.
Right.
It was definitely high moments uh where I
Yeah.
played like very, very well, and I
Hmm.
felt great about it. But those are just the highs and lows, the different emotions
Yeah.
you experience during that time.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people, there's that finding that consistency and that balance throughout whether you play bad, like it was a bad game or a good game, right? You're still the same athlete, so you still function at that level. So, did you ever feel like there was a lot of pressure?
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, more of the pressure was like more so put on me by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like it's during that time, it's all I identify as is like a basketball player. Like I really
Yeah.
like I just did enough in school just to get by. Really, honestly, during
Mm-hmm.
that time, I wasn't really focused on schoolwork. Um,
Mm.
I just did enough to get by. So
Yeah.
I did enough to be able to stay on the basketball team, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so like yeah, the pressure was just more so on me,
Uh-huh.
just putting it on myself
Right.
when I felt like I underperformed at certain
Mm-hmm.
times. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So would you say that that kind of became basketball since, I mean, you were 5 years old the moment that you saw it on TV throughout your entire, childhood and into high school? Do you feel like it kind of became a part of you, like your
absolutely.
identity, sort of, so to speak?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's what I identified myself as. Just like
Mm-hmm.
I was a hooper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that was my thought process like around the clock, like basketball, 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 basketball. So like things
Yeah.
really outside of it, like it really didn't get much of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, and until I became like a teenager and I started thinking about girls, of course.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
more often than not, yeah, basketball was like who I identified
Mm-hmm.
myself as. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So high school, so you won the state championships as a senior. And then what happened after that? You went to play on in college, right?
right. Yeah. So yeah, I received a scholarship to go play junior college basketball.
Okay.
And going into it, I was very confident in myself. I had really started to like work on my offensive game like over that
Mm,
summer going into my freshman year of college. So I came in very confident, and then like when I got there, like I soon realized that like I was competing again. Like it was just like high school all
yeah.
over again, but on another level. Like I'm competing again with these guys for like
Hmm.
a position on this team, and these guys are really good too. So
Hmm.
it was a reality check. Like wow, like I'm not as good as I thought I was, but at the same time, it was like a way for me to like push myself to the next level as
Hmm.
well. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, another challenge there in junior
Yeah.
college. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like you kind of have that high level of competitiveness naturally within you, that
absolutely.
that pushed you. And so how was, when you're in college, you talk about being at the next level. How
Mhm.
was it managing not only you in basketball, but now college? Like there's schoolwork, there's deadlines, there's things that you have to get done to be a student, right? To be at
Mhm.
that college. So how
Right.
did you manage all of that all at once?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it now, I don't really know how I did it because it was like it was very new to me. Like having to wake up for like a 5 a.m. workout and then
Mm-hmm.
go shower, then like go to class for 3 or 4 hours, and then like make it to
Mm-hmm.
practice on time, and then practice, and then get from practice, shower, get some food, and study. because
Mm-hmm.
of course, we're back to like the grades. You have to keep your grades at a certain point to be
Yeah.
able to stay on the team. So yeah, I remember at the time it was like it was a very new adjustment, but
Mm-hmm.
I was excited for it, so I didn't really feel a lot of pressure about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a certain like arrogance about myself that kind of got in the way,
Okay.
like my freshman and sophomore year of college, because like I said, I felt like I was a really good player,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I was like in a sense promised like a certain amount of playing time and how I'd be playing, and then it didn't
Mm-hmm.
align with what I thought would happen. So just
Mm-hmm.
like dealing with that throughout a course of a season, like where your playing time is going up and down, and then like you're dealing with all these
Mm.
different emotions. You start to doubt
Yeah.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole roller coaster that I had
Yeah.
to get adjusted to, and by my junior year, I figured it out,
Mm-hmm.
essentially how time management worked,
Mm-hmm.
how I needed to put in extra hours in the gym in order to
Yeah.
be able to like showcase myself differently on the court. Like I kind of
Mm-hmm.
figured that out by my junior year, but like that freshman and sophomore year was like kind of rough. I actually ended up stepping away from basketball
Mm-hmm.
after my sophomore year of college, because
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like fell into a place where it's like it wasn't what I expected, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to do this anymore. So I went and got
Right.
like a 9 to 5 back in my hometown, worked for like a little over a year, and
Mm-hmm.
like that lasted a little over a year until I just like those thoughts started creeping back in, like, man,
Mm-hmm.
you're a basketball player. What are you doing? Like, why are you
Yeah.
clocking in? Right. So I went and tried out for uh, the home the Division II school Stillman in my
Okay.
hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up making the team, receiving a scholarship, and then I was back in school for my junior and senior year there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So having that not meet your expectations and going through freshman and sophomore year and being really, would you say that you were disappointed in what you thought it was going to be?
Yes.
How did you, I mean, besides stepping away from it, how did you handle that when you were in it?
Um, I was really hard on myself.
Mm,
Like, I mean, I remember moments like where I would like be crying in the shower about it,
mm-hmm,
because like it wasn't living up to what I had thought it would be.
mm-hmm,
And like during that time, I really didn't understand what was happening, what was going on. I had this
mm,
idea that like I would get to college and play a couple years in junior college, and then receive a scholarship to play
mm-hmm,
Division I basketball. But in real time, that wasn't happening how I
right.
thought it needed to happen in order for me to achieve what I had set out to achieve. So
Mm,
yeah, it was really rough. You know, Fortunately for me, I did have a great support system. I would talk to
mm-hmm,
my mom about it. Um,
mm,
I had a really good teammate during the time, who was my roommate, who we
okay.
talk about the challenges of playing time and
Mm-hmm,
how things weren't going how we expected. So I did have the support system. I had an outlet. I
yeah.
had an ear to speak to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that helped me
Oh yeah.
throughout that time more than I thought. But of course, it still ended up in me like just like taking a step
Mm-hmm,
away. And I
mm-hmm,
really believe like that me taking that step away helped me tremendously, because I
mm-hmm,
was able to just like reflect on what had happened, and then
right.
accept it, and then just like move on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to allow yourself that time to process it. I mean, you're going through the motions for 2 years of the stressful environment, right? The basketball, the being a student, all of that. Plus, it's a new thing too. It's a new routine. Everything's new. So you're not able to really process through that stress. It's good that you had somebody to talk to, that you had support, that you had your mom, you had your roommate, and you had people around you to help you. But sometimes I think people don't know like even what to say or how to bring that up when they're really in a place that's like, I'm struggling. Like, who do I talk to? How do I bring that up? You had your mom, which it sounds like that's a healthy relationship and a safe place for you.
Hmm.
How did that conversation open up with your roommate? Was he on the basketball team with you?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
yeah, it's actually he's still a really good friend of mine to this day.
Okay.
But yeah, he reminds me all the time. He would be like, we have conversations, and I'd be like, man, like like, I don't know what's going on. Like I practice all these different moves. I worked on my game, and like I get into the gym and it's not working how I expected it to work.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
he was like a couple years older than me, so he was a
Okay.
little more wiser, and he would just like he'd be like, man, you're good. Just you gotta
Yeah.
he would always say, you got a pretty big body frame for like a
Hmm.
freshman, man. So like stop shooting so many jump shots, like drive to the hole, use your body, make layups, get your
Hmm.
game flowing that way. He was like, but what you're going through, like everybody goes through it. You
Hmm.
just gotta stay with the process,
Hmm.
just gotta stick to it, stay true to it, and then
Yeah.
eventually it'll work itself out. And, in real time, I'm kind of like shrugging off what he's saying, like, man, he don't know what he's talking
Hmm.
about, like
Right.
whatever. But looking back on it, it made all the sense, to just like kind of stay in
Yeah.
there and just like embrace it and be
Hmm.
where your feet are.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Don't jump ship yet, right? Like there's still
right.
a lot to learn
Yeah,
from, and it's an opportunity for growth. But a lot of times when you're in it, you don't see that.
yeah,
So that's good that he was able to kind of guide you in that direction, and you stuck with it for as long as you did.
yeah.
Um, so kind of real quick, we'll shift directions here in a minute because I want to hear
Okay,
about, what happened and how how things transitioned into a different way of life for you, I guess, so to speak.
right.
But so for people that are just hopping on or listening right now, catching up on where we're at, this is Get Your Head in the Game podcast, and it's all about mindset, mental health, and sports and how it relates to the game of life. And so Markeith is talking about his experience as a collegiate basketball player and how that formed his identity and then the transition into a professional career. So now, you let's jump into what happened next. You were playing junior year. You had an opportunity to go play overseas,
Hmm.
and I want to hear about that. What happened with that?
Right. Yes. So, all right, junior, senior year, like I said, I figured the game out. I started playing a lot better. And going into my senior year, I was in an unfortunate car accident where
Right.
I injured my back. So I ended up playing my senior year with a back injury, and it was tough, but I still kind of performed decently enough to like
Mm-hmm.
after I graduated, I received an invitation to go out to Las Vegas to a pro camp where I performed pretty well. I got an offer to go play professional basketball in the Middle East. Um, and during that time, before I got to get over there, my back started flaring up again.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was more so with like the longevity. Like I couldn't like
Mm-hmm.
play hours at a time and then like compete again the next day. I would need like a break, like a 2 or 3 day break, because like my back would like tighten up. I didn't really understand the injury I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, um, considering all that,
Yeah.
I just decided, maybe my basketball window was up here, like my playing time
Right.
is up. So let me just figure out what's next for me in life. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a really difficult decision for me because
Yeah.
all my life I had identified as a basketball player. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand what would be next. I never thought of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I actually went into like a state of depression for like a couple months or so, like
Mm-hmm.
where I just was like very unsure of what to do next,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Because like I worked my whole life to get to this point to where I could like play professional basketball, and I had the opportunity in front of me, but my body was just like not
Mm-hmm.
there. So
Yeah.
after a
Wow.
couple months, I made a tough decision and decided, all right, you know, I, I I enjoy like talking to people. Let me just like go into sales, right?
Okay.
So I packed up. I moved to Atlanta. I went into
Wow.
sales. I probably sold just about anything you could think of for about 5 or 6 years, and you know, I guess like during the like 2020. Let's fast forward to 2020. The
Mm-hmm.
pandemic hits, and during that time, I was working in a business with a good friend of mine,
Okay.
where we were just like helping people get loans. So
Mm-hmm.
I was making really good money. And through meeting him, he had actually introduced me to like something that like really, really changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
He introduced me to reading. So like
Okay.
throughout my life, like I was never really into reading at all.
Okay.
Like Yeah, like get that
Right,
book
because
away from me. What do
you
you
didn't
mean?
have to. It was sports,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
all basketball, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he introduced me to reading and yeah, like I'll never forget he took me to like Barnes and Noble and then he
Okay.
just gave me a list of books to like start reading and then like most of them were like psychologically based books, a lot of self-help
Mm-hmm.
books, a lot of sales books, of course. And from that point I just like dove all the way into it because like he was like a very young, successful person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, very, very successful person, and I wanted to like reach that type of success that he had
Right.
obtained in such a short period of time. And he
Mm-hmm.
told me the key to it was reading. So I started reading like crazy. That year after I met him, I read like 23 books.
Wow.
Yeah, in a year. So I was like
That's
literally
crazy.
addicted to reading.
Uh-huh.
And I always call that like my dog year because like during that
Mm-hmm.
year, like I said, reading so much information in real time, I didn't really like, I wasn't really processing a lot of
Right.
the information. But
Mm-hmm.
like a year later, I'll never forget, I like woke up one day and it's like all the information like hit me like a ton of bricks. Like it all started making sense. I started like
Mm-hmm.
thinking differently. I started making decisions differently. And
Wow.
yeah, it just like it changed my whole life. I got into like
Mm-hmm.
meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Um and
Mm-hmm.
when I got into meditation, that really like changed the trajectory of my life because I started like
Yeah.
perceiving things differently. I started being
Mm-hmm.
more aware, more conscious of like where I was in life
Mm-hmm.
and like accepting things. So
Mm.
yeah, um
Yeah.
after the meditation, like I did that for a few months and then it's like I woke up one day and I was like, you know, I'm tired of like the life that I'm living. Like I really want to like do more with my life. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like more intelligent. I wanted to do more with my life. So I was like, all right, so I sat down, I started writing. I was like,
Wow.
so what are things I enjoy? Um and then it was like it really came down to like I was really intrigued with like psychology, like the
Mm-hmm.
psychology I learned through sales, like helping people make decisions and like understanding
Yeah.
human behavior, all of that. So I
Mm-hmm.
combined my likeness of psychology with my
Mm-hmm.
first love, basketball. And I was
Okay.
like, all right, this is it. I'm going to become a doctor of sports psychology. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
I think I made that decision like in a December of 2020, in December of 2020. And then by
Okay.
January of 2021, I was enrolled in a master's program at the University of Arizona Global Campus. So
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
since then I've completed my master's and now I'm working on my PhD in sports psychology.
Wow. So going from, yeah, that's so to recap real quick. So
Okay, yeah.
you went from college student, you
Hmm.
graduated with a bachelor's, right?
Right.
What was your bachelor's in?
It was in health and physical education.
Health and physical education. Okay. So you
Yeah.
graduated
So
with your
yeah.
bachelor's degree. You
Uh-huh.
had the car accident happen. You had
Hmm.
to make the tough decision to step out of basketball.
Right.
Um, and then it was kind of like this void. Would you say it felt kind of like, now what? Like, what do I do with my life? I'm kind of on this different path.
That's
Um,
exactly what it was. Yeah.
so this void, right? We go through kind of a season of depression, a season of questioning, who am I? What is my purpose?
Hmm.
Then jumping into a sales career and really figuring out that you really enjoy psychology and the idea behind understanding people's behavior and how they speak, how they act, how they talk. And I know sales has a lot, I was a recruiter for a really long time, so there's a lot of little techniques, right? Like your body language and different things that you learn about people when you're trying to sell them something. Words you say, words you don't say, right? So then you
Hmm.
did the sales,
Yep.
and figured out this is what I love. And then the connection happened with, okay, let's start reading and learning, and maybe not so much the love of reading, but the love of knowledge, I think, of
Right.
growing and learning. And so having that growth mindset, and then one day just connecting basketball, psychology, like,
Right.
oh, that's the field I could go into. So
Right.
I love that because you can kind of see the transition for you as an athlete, as far as like, going from your whole identity being, I'm an athlete. Basketball is the only thing I've known since I was 5 years old. That was
Hmm.
it. And
Yeah.
then having to make that tough decision that you're going to walk away from it, and having not just walk away from it, but you had an opportunity in front of you to potentially pursue it even further at, whether it was overseas, maybe leading to opportunities with the NBA,
Hmm.
and having that in front of you and deciding, okay, my body is not keeping up. Because I always
Hmm.
like to say, the mind is the strongest muscle in the body, but there does come a point where mentally you can keep pushing. And it sounds like you did, you mentally kept pushing yourself, but your body just kept saying, like, no.
Right. Yeah. I've
Um,
had enough.
yeah, I've had enough.
Yeah.
So that whole
Yeah.
transition, is incredible. And I think for you, we talked about this before, but the car accident that you went through and having that injury was really the catalyst to what was going to inevitably happen for you. At some point there was going to be a decision that I can't play basketball forever. Like, what am
Hmm.
I going to do then? So, you talk about this transition, but what would you say to athletes out there that are maybe in that transition, or even considering, what do I want to do after the sport? What would you say to those athletes?
Yeah. I would say, like, just take a deep breath more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say that it's okay. Like, it's okay that like, if you don't accomplish what you initially set out to accomplish in sports, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I would tell them to be okay with all that they have accomplished up to this point,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
to even just make it to from high school to a college basketball player, that's like a huge jump and a huge separation from a lot of people who don't get to make it that far. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
if you even make it as a college basketball player, just make it on a team, like, you've done like a tremendous job in your sport, right?
Yeah.
So just understanding that, like, like, sports, they teach you a lot of things, like, outside of just like your physical abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you learn teamwork, you learn cohesiveness, you learn responsibility, time management. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things are like great skills and
Yes.
characteristics that you can like take into any other field and just be just as successful. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was. Like, that's what reading did for me. Like, it helped me identify other things that were like great about me
Mm-hmm.
outside of basketball, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just discovered things about myself. Like, man, like, I am like a pretty good listener. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
do like effectively communicate. Like, I am
Mm-hmm.
emotionally intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of these things, like I do have like a high sense of
Right.
awareness, like, right. So I started to like discover these things within me, and that's what the reading, like the self help books, like
Mm-hmm.
the psychological based books, it just helped me like become more aware and like aware of myself and my own capabilities. So yeah,
Yeah.
what that's what I would say to athletes. Just like, just be okay, be where your feet are. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
decision you make, be okay with it, and just move forward. Just move away,
Yeah.
whatever it is, in whatever direction
Mm-hmm.
feels right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's some good advice and some good tips. It sounds like it was an important process for you to take that identity that you had as an athlete and really discover who your identity is apart from the sport, apart from that.
Mhm.
And one exercise I will sometimes do with athletes is have them sit down with me and tell me, what are the other roles you have in your life besides playing basketball? What other roles? You're a son, you might be a brother, like you might be an employee, you might be, all these different things that you have in your life that you play a different role in, and your personality traits and characteristics that go with that role. That's really your identity. We
Right.
associate ourselves with the sport because that's what we've known, but that doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily equate to who we actually are. Like you mentioned, you gain a lot of other skills in sports
Hmm.
that really translate easily into life as as a student, and then as in your career as a professional. Those things that you learn as an athlete are very valuable. Like that doesn't go away just because you stop playing the sport, right?
Right, definitely.
So yeah, I love that. That's super
Yeah,
helpful for any athlete that is maybe in college and at some point they're going to graduate and have to move on and wonder, now what am I going to do? That's a point that they're all going to hit at some time, at some
right.
point, and giving them that advice to be okay with it, super helpful. So,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
wow. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What if you
Mhm.
could tell your younger self anything, or maybe, what would you say to these younger athletes if something that you wish you would have known either in high school or in college? What would you say or tell
Yeah.
your younger self?
Yeah, I would tell my younger self to, definitely still enjoy the sport, love the game, appreciate it. Um, be where your feet are, wherever you are in life. And I
Hmm.
would also tell them to just like be curious and interested in other things, right? Um, like definitely like read.
Hmm.
Like open books with intentionality and like be very conscious of what you're reading, take in information, like be
Hmm.
open minded to other things outside of the sport. Because like I was saying,
Hmm.
like a lot of athletes they get like tunnel vision, which is not a bad thing, but it also like obscures your vision where you can't really. It's like you have blinders on and you really can't see anything outside of what you're 100% focused on. So, I would just tell them to take a step back and uh just see other things happening around them in their life and just like
Hmm.
uh just look a little deeper within themselves and
Yeah.
to be okay even if it doesn't go the way that they expected, just to understand that like life as it continues to unfold is going to show you uh
Hmm.
various things, different avenues to just keep a high vibrating energy about yourself,
Yeah.
stay optimistic no matter what happens, and just know that as long as you have like intention to continue moving in forward in life,
Hmm.
move forward in life, everything is going to work out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's super helpful. What you said about the tunnel vision is like it's good as an athlete because I think you get used to that. That's how you train is to be focused. But then at the same time, the flip side of that is with that tunnel vision, you block everything else out. So
right.
learning
Yeah,
to balance the two, that's the challenge is like how do I
yeah,
balance having that focus, having that tunnel vision with also expanding and growing and learning. So that's awesome that you would say that. I think that's a good important point for athletes to know.
definitely.
So now what? So now you're going to finish your PhD in sports psychology. And then what do you hope to do with that?
Yeah, so excuse me. Yeah, my long term goal is to just work with athletes. Hopefully, will definitely work with NBA players someday. Uh,
Okay.
just helping them get past psychological barriers, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's because they sustained an injury, helping them get back to their peak playing performance after an injury by getting
Mm-hmm.
through psychological barriers. I would also like to provide a service where I help like professional athletes as well. Like a lot of them retire so young, like in
Yeah.
their 30s. So
Mm-hmm.
and then they have their whole life ahead of them. And
Yeah.
like we've been speaking on throughout this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, it's like they've been identifying themselves as an
Yeah.
athlete their whole life. So when that
Mm-hmm.
clock runs up, it's like, what do I do next? So I would
Yeah.
just help them understand, the characteristics and skill sets that they learn through sports, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is that they played, and how those things can transfer over into another field where they can be just as successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, all things sports
Mm-hmm.
mindset,
Yes.
that's what I'm all about now.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you
Yeah,
have some good experience too that will help you in that, your experience of walking through that yourself,
right.
and then the knowledge that you gain by going through school, combining those two things like that that's going to be super powerful for those athletes, for you to be able to walk with them through that, because it can be a very dark place, to now, what was your whole life now not have that anymore.
Right.
There's chance that you might deal with depression, you might deal with different mental health concerns during that time, that having someone like yourself who's been there, who's walked through it, can be very helpful and beneficial for those athletes. So I am super excited to watch, as you go forward in this program. I know I enjoyed every minute. It's funny because when it's your passion, because like I would actually look forward to doing my homework
Right.
and my papers, because I'm like, I get
Yeah.
to do research. Like I get to study this stuff. And that was so cool to me. Like, and you talk about reading, like I would love reading these research articles that people are probably like, you gonna read that? I'm like, yes, like I love this stuff. So
Right. Yeah.
I am
Absolutely.
excited for you to go through this program, and all that you're going to learn, and all that you're going to, grow your brain and expand upon, all the foundation that you already have as an athlete. So super exciting for you.
Definitely. Absolutely. I'm super excited as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, yeah. I like I told you, I was never really into school. Like I just always
Mm-hmm.
did enough to get by, and like to even think like sitting here that I'm like working on my PhD and I'm excited about it and like I
Yeah.
enjoy it. That's just like insane to me. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
That's
Life
cool.
is very interesting.
It is, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being on this. Do you have any last words, or you feel like you got everything out that you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I feel like I touched every base. So
Okay.
no, I love
Okay.
what you're doing here.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I'm gonna share with as many people as I can, because especially athletes,
Mm-hmm.
because like yeah, we're all athletes. We're fighting the same battle. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
important for them to have like some type of like resource to like listen
Yeah.
to, and like know that they're not alone, and knowing that
Right.
whatever they're going through, like a lot of people are going through the same thing, and for them to know that it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where could they find you? Are you on any social media platforms or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, I have an Instagram. It's Markeith underscore Madison. So
Okay.
MARKEITH underscore Madison.
Okay.
Um, yeah, if you wanted to send me an email, that would be madisonmarkeith@gmail.com.
Okay.
I would love to, answer emails for anyone who has questions,
Okay.
um, or just want to like have someone to talk to. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can reach me there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. And yeah, I'm excited. I will be in touch with you, and maybe we'll have you on again.
All right. Awesome. Sounds
All
great.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.